Podcast is going to be a little different than normal. We try and avoid opinions. We try and teach. I try and give value wherever I can, but we got a lot of stuff that we need to address because the last week or two has just been absolutely abysmal in our country. And there's a lot of people out there that are confused and they're hurting. And I want to make it abundantly clear not only where I stand, but also maybe give some different impact and some different perspective on what's going on. So let's get right into it. There's an old quote, it's been attributed to several different people. Nobody knows where it came from, but it says, "Evil triumphs when good men do nothing." We've had a lot of stuff happen in the last week or so. Obviously, the largest headlines are Charlie Kirk's assassination. Before that, there was two just absolutely senseless murders. The one young lady on the train, and then another gentleman in a laundromat. And those are just the three that come to mind. There's another shooting that happened in several different areas. I'm not discounting anything by addressing or not addressing ones or the other. I just want to talk to what's going on today and in today's internet world, which is absolutely insane. Let me make perfectly and abundantly clear where I stand. Evil exists. It doesn't require interpretation. It doesn't require context to be understood or lack thereof. Evil exists. And if you are a person who celebrates the death of another person, you are one of those evil people. And I don't care to be associated with you. If I lose folks over this, so be it. It is what it is. But I don't want to be associated with people that celebrate other people's death or other people's pain. That is not okay. There's not a scenario in the world where that makes it okay. You know, we say, well, maybe sometimes truly evil people, we should celebrate their death. Even in that case, we may think, okay, well, good, they're gone. They can't cause harm anymore. But you shouldn't take joy in the taking and the ending of another human life ever. That's not okay. Just so we're clear, if you have a fence with that statement, well, then we probably want to log off of here right now and not hear the rest of what I got to say because it's just going to continue to piss you off. However, moving forward, I want to make sure that I'm also abundantly clear that your voice needs to be heard, but maybe not in the way that you think it should be right now. And let me say it, I don't think anybody should be censored at all. That's not what I'm talking about. But you should have a reaction to what's been going on. And if you feel any kind of way, you need to talk about it. You need to get it out there. And especially in today's social media world, a lot of us have a platform where other people are wondering what we have to say about that. But make sure that you are giving a response and not a reaction. Because it's real easy to say in the moment, oh, this, oh, that, oh, I'm going to do this, inflammatory statements, or if I was there, I would have done this, or whatever. Remember, the emotion fades. And when the emotion fades, a lot of times so does action. So those commitments and those reactions that we make in the moment, they have long-term consequences. It is an absolute tragedy that a well-articulated young man that could speak his mind, that showed kindness in everything that he did. And remember, kindness is not weakness. Being told the truth in a bad situation is kindness. Was hated and was silenced because of what he said and his opinions. And, you know, people will say, oh, well, we have free speech in America. Well, I guess we don't have that anymore. Now we're a fascist nation. You hear all of this because to put things out into cyberspace and into the internet, you don't have to have any kind of validation, any kind of proof. You can say whatever you want, and it's become a situation of he who speaks the loudest and the most people get believed, or the most people that believe him, then that then becomes some sort of pseudo quasi truth, and people believe it and move forward. And I'm as guilty of it as the next person because I'll read something or I'll see something and I want it to be true. So maybe I don't do my due diligence, I don't do my research, and all of a sudden come to find out it's not true. But I believed it for a little while because I wanted it to be true. So I'm going to caution you in more than one way. One, don't believe everything that you see out there. Make sure that what you see and what you're hearing and what you're putting in your head is truth and not just somebody's opinion disguised as truth. Number two, guard your words well. I'm not telling you don't use them, if quite the opposite, actually. And we'll talk about that here in a few minutes as to what's happened. But guard your words well. Make sure that what you're putting out there is truth. And if it's not something that can be quantified as truth, if it's your opinion, then state that it's your opinion. You are as entitled to your opinion as everybody else, but you are not entitled to pass your opinion off as verifiable truth. So state things that are your opinion. We're hurting right now, and I'm gonna touch base on this a little bit. I want to talk about where I just came from this morning. Ashton reached out to me yesterday, and for those of you who don't know, Ashton's my youngest son, and he was watching the live stream, and he's been a Charlie Kirk fan for a long time. He was watching it when it happened, and to say that it's altered his brain chemistry is probably not quite enough, because it's caused him to think about a lot of stuff that Charlie Kirk already made him think about, and helped him come to terms with the fact that he is a young conservative and that he has faced opposition most of the time since he's been able to understand it, through high school and going on into the career field and everything else. He's faced opposition from not only his age group, but people in my age group that are liberals, because historically, somebody who has a liberal opinion is usually more outspoken than a conservative. That's in my opinion. There's been some research to show that, but you can take away from what you will. In his particular case, this has been an issue. But he's been thinking. We've been talking a lot about this. We've been talking about, well, what would he want? What would he want? Should we act and react in fear? And I'm going to talk about that again here in a minute. Or should we do more? Should we do something? Because we all have an emotional need to try and make sense of tragedy, no matter what it is. And we want to do something. As humans, we want to fix it, especially as guys. We want to come in there and we want to fix whatever needs to be done. We want to do something, and we feel especially helpless when we can't. So he's been in that situation, working through it. And as a result, in a way that he may never have spoken out, he now is becoming more vocal. He is posting things up. He is becoming more educated and speaking more, because his first visceral reaction was, well, now he's gone. I'm scared, and he doesn't want to live in fear. So thought through it, worked through it, and moved on. Asked me yesterday if I wanted to get with him this morning. It's his one day off this week, and do a memorial for Charlie Kirk and just talk about things. I was like, yeah, sure, okay. One, proud father moment. Like, okay, this is cool. And no matter whether you agree with me or not, whenever your child chooses to do something purely because it's something they think that should be done, and there's no consequences for doing it or not doing it one way or the other, it makes me proud. And I happen to believe that this was a good thing. So yes, we met, we sat, listened to patriotic songs, talked about what happened, talked about how he was feeling as the sun came up over the river. Incredibly special bonding time, especially since he's moved out. He's been on his own for a couple of years. We're still very close, but it's not like it used to be. So I got to have that time with him while we talked about subjects that were very important to him and to the world in general moving on. We talked about what he does from here, where he goes, and what he needs to make happen. So I came from that, and I'd been putting off recording this because I've recorded a few times, and I kept having those visceral reactions, and then coming across as angry. And trust me, I'm angry, but my heart's also broken. And I wanted this to be as authentic and as well articulated as it possibly could. Um, I think, and people that are my mentors and that I've followed and that I want to be like and I want to emulate, they lead with kindness. Even when they're angry, they still have that kindness in them. So I'm going to share my personal opinions and what happened with me when these things started happening. Before Charlie was shot and taken out, I saw the video of the young lady on the subway, and at first I saw the only clip where she was just ruthlessly murdered. And there is no case where murder is not wrong, folks. But in this particular case, it was even more heinous because she wasn't doing anything. She was just sitting there, either going home or going somewhere. She was murdered. That was terrible. That made me sad. How could this happen in America? Anywhere in the world, really, but how could this happen in America? We're supposed to be safe here. So this strikes at our fundamental core beliefs about not only our society, but about ourselves. And then I didn't realize I'd only seen a portion of the video. Then I saw the whole thing. And I saw her crying. I saw her fall to the floor. And I saw 4 human beings watch and do absolutely nothing while another human died alone in fear in front of them. And then they just walked away. How? How on earth could we let that happen? What if that was your daughter? What if that was your son? Would you want them to die alone, trembling in fear, in shock? There's no way to look at that makes this okay. We all like to say, oh, well, if I were in that situation, I'd do this. If I were in that situation, I'd do that. You know what? We don't know how we're going to react in any specific situation. But those people had a long enough time that they could have overcome their initial reaction and made a choice, even to comfort this lady while she was dying. But there was not even an attempt made to try and save her. Same thing with the gentleman in the laundromat. People just watched it happen. Some of them stepped through the pooling blood to get around and get out. And not running, just casual, like it was nothing. Is this truly what we've come to as a society? Where casual murder is a thing? Where we are so apathetic and involved and selfish that we won't comfort a stranger while they're taking their last breaths, and we will watch them die alone without ever having attempted to do anything. This is not the world I want to live in. And then get overshadowed with a maybe not famous celebrity, but Charlie Kirk was fairly well known, and it blew up. What happened to him went viral. And right immediately on the back of that, now I see a husband whose children will never see their father again, a wife who's going to navigate this world alone because somebody decided that her husband needed to die. And then, and when I didn't think it could get any more horrific than watching somebody die and leaving and not doing anything about it, we're inundated with people celebrating another human's death. What the fuck is wrong with people? This is not okay. And then this is not the world that I want my children to grow up in. This is not the world that I want my grandchildren to grow up in. But this is the world that propagates acceptance and no moral boundaries and no codes and no discipline. And you can ascribe to it any negative effect that you want. But this is the world that we've created. And you know what, guys? It's 100% our fault because we've put up with this bullshit for far too long. You know, you can do, say, be whatever you want. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. I don't really give a rip one way or the other. But if you don't live according to your own moral code and you don't live according to what you believe and you say what you believe, then evil propagates when good men do nothing. Guys, it is our responsibility to not only make our opinions and our stand very, very clear, but also to be the biggest monster in the room, to just by your very presence keep things like this from happening. Does that mean that you need to go out and hit the gym right away? I don't know. Are you weak or are you physically strong? Because I tell you what, in either one of those given situations, if there had been an absolute mountain of a man in the room or in the car, at the very least, the perpetrators of these horrible crimes would have thought twice about doing it because of the implied consequences. You see, being nice and being kind are two very different things. Being nice is making you feel good about yourself, but you're absolutely useless because you're not capable of being mean or being aggressive or being defensive. But being kind, well, I've talked about that several times before. Being kind implies that you cannot be kind. Being strong and choosing not to use it does not mean you're weak. But being weak, you don't even have the option to be strong. So Jordan Peterson talks about this in several of his books, and I've heard him repeatedly. This is a common theme with him: is that you have to be a monster, and then you have to control it. At that point, then you can be a good man. Then you can choose to be a good man. You have to choose to run dangerously towards those who would do harm to others. You may not like it, but it is what it is. That's what we are called to do. That is what we need to do. Speak your opinion, state your truth, and be a big enough monster to enforce it. Stop being these weak, pathetic individuals that allows evil to propagate across generations now. And I've said before, we are a fatherless generation being raised by a fatherless generation, and that has led to a lot of this, is because men don't know how to be men anymore. But then I see these younger men, these Gen Z men coming up, and a lot of millennials. I'm not discounting you. I don't like the labels, but we tend to use them for generalizations. There are men out there who grew up in these situations that want to be good husbands, good fathers, and good leaders. And that's what makes Charlie's death such a tragedy, in the fact that he was an excellent teacher. He was a good example. He was just a great human. He didn't care if you agreed with him or not. He wanted you to. On a deep and visceral level, he wanted you to agree with his religion and with his politics, because he believed them so much, and he believed that they were right and they were what represented good in the world. But he taught, and he accepted people where he would tell you he thought you were wrong. He would tell you if he thought you were sinning, but he accepted people where they were at and tried to meet them where they were at. That's where the tragedy is because there's not a lot of teachers his age that relate as much to the younger generations. So once again, it falls on us, the older generations who come from a different time, to mentor and teach these young people. So I have a message. I have a message for you older generation, you older millennials, you Gen Xers, and for you younger generations, younger millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, whatever you call yourselves, you younger people. Older people, I'm going to need you to attempt to understand the world that they're going through. You don't have to like it, but if you're going to lead them, you're going to want to attempt to understand it, and you're going to need to be even more vigilant and speak your truth more and more, because people need to hear it. And young people, don't immediately discount somebody who's older because they don't understand. And I say that with air quotes, but I refuse to talk with those. Understand that there's knowledge that can be passed on. Find a mentor worth having. Find somebody whose beliefs that align with yours and follow them. Listen to them. Cultivate a friendship with them. Trust me, it's not that hard. We're all extremely lonely. We're more connected than ever, and we're more isolated than ever in history because of the internet and because of social media. Find these common threads with people outside of your age group and move forward. And guys, you need to start speaking. You need, first of all, you got to decide what you believe. You got to decide what's important to you, and then you need to start talking about it. And you need to advertise. You need to put it out there, because the only way to combat this evil is by letting people know that you won't any longer stand for it. And yeah, that means that everybody, every guy that's listening to this right now, you need to get out there. You need to get in shape. You need to figure out what it is that's holding you back from becoming the best version of you that's humanly possible to become, so that the next time, or the one time that maybe you're in the room when an evil or a tragedy like this could be propagated, they'll think twice. And at the very least, you'll be able to help and stop it if necessary, or help afterwards if you couldn't stop it in the first place. But do not be the person that doesn't prepare, that doesn't get ready, that doesn't become an absolute beast, and then watch his tragedy happen and know that you could have done better, that you could have made that happen. I mean, that you could have stopped that from happening. You'll have to live with that for the rest of your life. And you know what? If you don't feel like that's partially your fault because you had the opportunity to make yourself better and possibly stop it, then you're not being honest with yourself, and there's a reason. Be the person that you want to see in others. Be who you would want your sons to be. Be the man you want your daughters to grow up and marry. These are cliche for a reason. They're cliche because they're true. But you can act on this, and just giving lip service to it is not enough. Do the hard things, make the hard choices, face the consequences of your choices to date, and start making a difference in not only your life, but in other people's lives going forward. This world can be a better place. This world is not an evil place, although there will always be evil people populated in it. And if you're still here with me at this point, I want to thank you for your attention. I want to thank you for listening to me, and I want to thank you for listening to my opinion. And I want to talk about love, and I want to talk about acceptance, because there's a lot of people out there that need to know that they're loved and that they're cared for, and that it's okay to feel the way they're feeling. We can go into many, many different things about mental health and about how this impacts mental health or any of that. I don't want to talk about that right now, but what I do want to talk about is I want to talk about love. I want to talk about compassion. I want to talk about kindness. If you have somebody in your life that's struggling, especially with this or anything else, take the time to talk to them. You don't have to make their problems your own, but sometimes just knowing that there's another human being out there and they're not alone in this world, that's enough. That's enough there to help with the stress. Just knowing that there's somebody else out there that cares about them and their challenges and their problems and their situations is enough. Guys, we don't do this enough. We don't spend enough time with each other just talking, just getting to know each other, just understanding. We don't have enough men out there that we confide in. And I see it in online groups a lot, because it's generally how guys congregate these days, how a lot of people congregate these days, is that when a brother reaches out for help, and just this massive outpouring from everybody in the group, or many people in the group, you see that there's a difference. And we're not lacking kindness and compassion. We're not lacking love. What we're not doing is communicating that to one another effectively. You know what? It's okay. Tell your friends you love them. It might be the only time they hear it. Give your friends a big old hug whenever you see them. Might be one of the only hugs they got that day. Shake their hand. Tease them. Let them know that you care more about their presence than just a body to fill a space. And this is not true just in male to male friendships. I'm talking about in relationships. I'm talking about for your children. I'm talking about for all of it. And I want to talk about children before I get off of here. But guys, I love each and every one of you. I do. And I can say that even not knowing and not having met you, because each one of you is an individual, a unique person who has something to offer to this world. And I've never met a person and engaged with them that I didn't learn something from them one way or the other. And if you truly start pouring yourself into people and caring, you'll find that you're energized, that this weight that we're all bearing on our shoulders becomes just a little bit lighter, because we start to spread it around. We start to share it. We start to unburden ourselves with love and compassion for our fellow human beings and for our fellow men, especially. And I'm going to leave us with this. If you have children, there's no way that they're not exposed to everything that's going on. So don't pretend that you don't need to talk to them about this. You need to talk to them. And the older they are, the more you need to talk to them, because the less they're going to want to talk about it, because they're uncomfortable right now. And it doesn't matter whether they're conservative, whether they're liberal. That's not what this is about, although that's what the internet and social media would have you try and make this about. This is about love. This is about compassion. And this is about children trying to understand terrible evil in the world. And as their parent, even the teenagers that don't necessarily want to talk to you, you need to make sure that you're available and there for your children. Sit down, have a discussion with them, ask them questions, and then truly listen to the answer, and be prepared to have those hard discussions. If you don't, they're going to try and figure these things out on their own. They're probably going to come to some wrong conclusions, and it leads to more of the BS. It's just a never ending cycle. They're going to get their information and their input from somewhere. Make sure that it's you. Make sure that you foster that relationship with your children, that whenever there's a tragedy, you're the first one that they call. When this absolute tragedy happened with Charlie, my phone started blowing up. And it was not from people that work with me or anything else. It was from my kids. was from two of my sons in particular. One wanting to know if I'd seen it. Of course, I already had, and known what happened. And two, seeking answers. Be the parent that your children go to in times of tragedy, not the one that that your children are like, my goodness, my parent, my dad could never find out. That would be terrible. Be the ones like, oh my God, call my dad, he'll know what to do. Call my mom, she'll know what to do. Be that parent for your children, and then go be that friend for other people as well. And make sure you have some of those friends for yourself. And what you'll find is you won't have to do anything other than just be more compassionate, and your life will get exponentially better. Remember, all of these heightened emotions will fade. And what we do when that adrenaline high, that emotional high is gone, that's what's going to truly define our legacy and define us as human beings. I, for one, am going to step up my voice on this platform and every other one. I'm going to quit avoiding difficult topics. I'm going to be making my opinions known, although I've not really ever hidden that, but I'm going to make sure that I'm more vigilant in making my opinions known. I'm not going to try so hard not to offend other people. I'll never be purposely offensive, but my opinion is what it is, and it will be presented as such moving forward. That's my takeaway, and that's what my legacy will be because of this. And I'm going to continue to do that even after the fanfare fades, even after the emotions have faded, even after life has taken back over and started to propagate into just the realm of normalcy again. I'll make sure that I, for one, have my voice out there so that my boys know that they're not following the wrong father, that they're not following the wrong man. So I'm speaking to my sons right now. I'm speaking to my friends, and I'm speaking to all the men out there that are listening to this and all the women that are followers as well. Don't allow yourself to become passive again. If you feel the need, if you feel called to do something because of this, and it doesn't have to be this situation, it can be any situation that triggers you to do something more with yourself, then follow it up. Follow it up and come up with a plan to make sure you stay on task once the newness is worn off. Will it always work? No, that's not the point, because sometimes it will work, and sometimes you'll find that your life has started to make a difference in other people's lives. For those of you that reached out to me over the last couple of months, making sure that we were okay, making sure that I'm okay, and over the past couple of weeks, asking for my opinion, seeking that out, I appreciate you guys more than you'll ever know. If you found some value here and you think somebody could use what I've taught, please like it, share it, subscribe, make sure you don't miss what's coming up. You're going to want to stay and find out what happens with us moving forward. And hopefully, I've helped bring some comfort and some explanation into these tragic events. Remember, folks, go out there and be kind. Go out there and love one another. We don't have to let this hate propagate. Love y'all. Peace.